Most people think mastering money is all about hustling harder, chasing bigger paychecks, and finding that one magic investment. But Solomon, history's wisest and wealthiest king, would disagree. He knew that wealth isn't built in chaos, it's built in order. And the shocking truth? One of the most powerful blueprints for financial freedom isn't new, it's thousands of years old, hidden in plain sight, and it works whether you make $1,000 a month or run $1 million business. You've probably heard of the 50-30-20 rule before. Maybe you even tried it. But here's the twist. When you apply it with kingdom principles, it doesn't just help you make money. It transforms how you see, manage, and multiply every dollar God entrusts to you. This isn't about cutting out every joy in life. It's about finally telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. What I'm about to show you isn't a theory. It's the same kind of wisdom that kept ancient kingdoms thriving in times of abundance and famine. And when you see how Solomon's approach lines up with this simple yet powerful rule, you'll realize you might have been one small shift away from financial peace all along. Why Solomon would approve the 50-30-20 rule. Solomon, often called the wisest and wealthiest man in biblical history, understood that money is not just a tool, it's a test of stewardship. The 50-30-20 rule, though modern in phrasing, aligns perfectly with the principles he recorded in Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. This approach to money management forces clarity, knowing exactly where every dollar goes so it serves you instead of ruling over you. Solomon would agree because discipline with money is foundational to building both wealth and wisdom. In Proverbs 21:5, he writes, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty." The 50-30-20 rule embodies this diligence. By predetermining how to allocate income, 50% to needs, 30% to wants, 20% to savings or debt, you eliminate much of the impulsive decision-making that erodes wealth. Solomon's life was marked by order in the way he built his kingdom. The same order applied to personal finance would bring stability to any household. Imagine Solomon's own administration. The kingdom's resources were divided for temple maintenance, public works, military readiness, and storehouses for future needs. That's essentially the 50-30-20 rule in action, structure that sustains growth. Without such discipline, nations fall into debt, households collapse under pressure, and opportunities slip away. The wisdom of pre-allocation is not about restriction, it's about creating freedom to pursue higher purposes without financial chaos. In today's world, most people chase make-money strategies without first mastering manage money strategies. Solomon's wealth didn't just come from acquiring, it came from guarding, distributing, and multiplying wisely. The 50-30-20 framework teaches that wealth is less about sudden windfalls and more about daily choices. The person who spends without a plan will always be a slave to their income, no matter how high it is. For a business owner, this rule can be a game changer. Allocating a set percentage of profits to reinvestment, a set portion to operating costs, and another to reserves mirrors the same principle. Whether you're managing a nation, a business, or a household, Solomon's wisdom points to one truth: order attracts abundance, disorder repels it. So before talking about how to make more money, Solomon would say, show me how you handle what you already have. The 50-30-20 rule is a mirror, revealing whether you are in control or whether your money is controlling you. And in that reflection, you'll find the seeds of the next principle Solomon would teach. The 50% needs, providing for your household as God commands. Providing for your household isn't just a financial guideline, it's a biblical mandate. In 1 Timothy 5:8, Paul writes, "Anyone who does not provide for their relatives and especially for their own household has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever." The 50% allocation to needs in the 50-30-20 rule reflects this command. Needs are the non-negotiables: food, shelter, clothing, healthcare, things without which life becomes unstable and dignity is compromised. Solomon would call this building your house before adorning it. Needs are the foundation of financial stewardship. If 50% of your net income consistently covers them, you're ensuring stability for yourself and those who depend on you. This includes rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, health insurance, and basic transportation. It's not glamorous, but it's wise. No business can operate without covering its core expenses. Likewise, no household can flourish while neglecting essentials. The discipline here is resisting the temptation to upgrade needs into wants prematurely. Solomon warns in Proverbs 27:23, "Be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds." In modern terms, this means monitoring the basics that sustain you. Your flocks today might be your pantry, your home, your car, and your health. Covering needs first creates peace of mind, freeing you to think about business growth, investments, or ministry work without constant financial anxiety. A practical step here is tracking every expense for 30 days. You may discover that some costs you considered needs are actually lifestyle upgrades. For example, eating out 5 times a week isn't a need, it's a convenience. Downgrading certain needs for a season can free up cash flow for debt repayment or investment. The goal isn't to live in deprivation, but to protect the 50% category from being overrun by indulgences. For entrepreneurs, the needs portion applies to your business as well. This could mean software subscriptions, employee salaries, equipment maintenance, and compliance fees. Keeping these costs at a manageable percentage allows your business to weather slow seasons without panic. It's about ensuring survival while planning for prosperity. When God entrusts you with resources, He's watching how you allocate them. If the 50% needs category is managed well, you're proving faithful in little. And Scripture says those faithful in little will be entrusted with much. This faithfulness becomes the platform for the next part of the plan. The 30% wants. Enjoying life without becoming a slave to desire. God didn't design life to be purely about survival. He also gave us the capacity to enjoy beauty, rest, and good things. Ecclesiastes 3:13 says that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. The 30% wants portion in the 50-30-20 rule allows for that joy, but within boundaries. Wants are enhancements, not essentials. They add flavor to life without destabilizing your finances. The danger comes when wants are mistaken for needs. A streaming subscription isn't shelter, and a luxury vacation isn't the same as daily bread. Solomon warned in Proverbs 21:17, "Whoever loves pleasure will become poor. Whoever loves wine and olive oil will never be rich." The issue isn't enjoying pleasures, but letting them consume resources meant for greater purposes. Keeping wants within 30% prevents lifestyle inflation from silently eroding your wealth. In practice, wants can include travel, dining out, hobbies, entertainment, or that extra feature on your car. These are not sinful in themselves. They're even healthy when they refresh your mind and relationships. However, they must be planned. An unplanned want is often funded by debt, and debt turns today's pleasure into tomorrow's burden. That's why disciplined enjoyment is a mark of financial maturity. For business owners, the wants category might be upgrading office aesthetics, hosting client dinners, or investing in branding. These can boost morale or attract customers, but they're not core to operations. Overspending here in a slow revenue period can strain cash flow. A wise business person applies the same restraint as an individual budget, knowing that in both cases, overindulgence can threaten stability. One practical way to manage wants is to set a fun fund. Decide monthly how much you'll spend on leisure and treat it like a bill. Once it's gone, it's gone. This keeps you from the guilt of overspending or the regret of missed opportunities. It also teaches patience, as you may have to save for a larger luxury instead of buying it instantly. When your wants are under control, you experience a rare kind of freedom. You enjoy life's blessings without fearing the next bill. Solomon's wisdom here would be clear. Desire is a fine servant but a terrible master. And once desire is in its place, you're ready to tackle the part of the plan that builds your future. The 20%, savings and debt, storing up for the future. Like Joseph in Egypt. In Genesis 41, Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dream and advises storing a fifth of Egypt's produce during years of abundance. That's exactly 20%, a divine precedent for setting aside resources. The 20% portion of the 50-30-20 rule follows this same wisdom. Build savings and eliminate debt to prepare for what's ahead. Without this discipline, even seasons of plenty can end in scarcity. Godly stewardship always looks beyond today's comfort toward tomorrow's security. Savings begin with an emergency fund. This is your modern-day granary, protecting you from life's droughts, job loss, medical crises, or economic downturns. Aim for 6 and 12 months of essential expenses, just as Joseph stored enough grain for 7 years of famine. It sounds ambitious, but each month you're setting aside that 20%. You're buying yourself peace of mind and resilience in crisis. Debt repayment is the second pillar. Proverbs 22:7 says, "The borrower is slave to the lender." Debt robs your future income and often comes with interest that compounds against you. Using part of your 20% to aggressively pay down high-interest debt, credit cards, personal loans, frees up cash flow for investments later. Methods like the debt avalanche or snowball can accelerate your progress, turning a heavy burden into momentum toward freedom. For business owners, this category is vital. The same 20% principle can be applied to retain profits for reinvestment, expansion, or as a cash cushion for slow seasons. Just as Joseph's stored grain fed not only Egypt but neighboring nations, a business with reserves can serve clients, employees, and community even in lean times. Investment is the long-term play. Once debt is under control and your emergency fund is healthy, part of that 20% can go toward growth assets, index funds, dividend stocks, rental properties, or a retirement account. This is where make money moves from active labor to passive income, multiplying your resources as you sleep. The discipline of the 20% category turns reactive living into proactive planning. Joseph's wisdom spared millions from famine. Your consistency here can spare your household from financial famine. And once your savings and debt are under control, you can face the subtler enemy that often sabotages wealth. Guarding against wants creep that destroys wealth. Wants creep is the silent thief of wealth. It happens when desires slowly migrate into the needs column, inflating your expenses without you noticing. Proverbs 13:11 warns, "Dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow." While the verse speaks about dishonesty, the principle applies. Uncontrolled spending is a slow leak that empties even the largest accounts. Left unchecked, wants creep can dismantle years of disciplined budgeting. This creep often disguises itself as small upgrades, switching from a modest apartment to one just a bit pricier, replacing a perfectly functional phone with the latest model, or turning occasional dining out into a weekly habit. Each change seems harmless until, combined, they suffocate your ability to save or invest. Like weeds in a garden, they grow quietly until they choke the life out of your financial future. The Bible repeatedly calls for vigilance. In Song of Solomon 2:15, the little foxes that ruin vineyards are a metaphor for subtle threats. In personal finance, wants creep is that little fox. If you're not actively watching, it slips in and eats the fruit of your labor. The solution is intentional review, monthly check-ins where you scrutinize every expense to ensure it belongs in its rightful category. For a business, wants creep might look like unnecessary software subscriptions, overly generous entertainment budgets, or constant office upgrades. These can seem like signs of growth but often erode profit margins. Smart entrepreneurs apply the same discipline as in personal budgets, defining needs versus nice-to-haves, and revisiting those definitions quarterly. A practical safeguard is the cooling-off rule. Wait 30 days before any non-essential purchase over a set amount. This simple habit reveals whether the item is a genuine need or a fading whim. It also aligns with Proverbs 21:5. Slow, deliberate planning leads to abundance, while haste leads to scarcity. Guarding against wants creep keeps your financial engine lean and powerful. It ensures that the 50-30-20 rule continues to work for you instead of collapsing under lifestyle inflation. And when you've mastered this defense, you can redirect freed-up cash into something far more exciting, turning disciplined savings into capital for business growth. From budget to business, turning savings into seed capital. A budget isn't just about limiting spending. It's about creating surplus that can fuel opportunity. In Matthew 25, Jesus tells the parable of the talents, where the master entrusts resources to his servants. Those who invested what they were given doubled it. The one who buried it gained nothing. Your 20% savings category can become your talent seed, ready to be planted in ventures that can make money beyond your paycheck. Turning savings into business capital begins with clarity about your goals. Do you want a side hustle, a scalable online business, or a rental property? Your budget gives you the starting point, consistent, predictable funds to invest without jeopardizing your needs category. This is how financial discipline becomes entrepreneurial freedom. Solomon himself traded internationally, 1 Kings 10:28-29, showing that wealth grows when resources are deployed strategically. For example, $5,000 saved over time could launch a small e-commerce store, buy tools for a specialized trade, or secure a down payment on an income-generating asset. Too often, people view savings only as a safety net, forgetting it can also be a launch pad. The same discipline that built the savings will serve you well in running a lean, profitable business. In the business world, capital is opportunity. The one who has reserves can move quickly when a good deal appears, whether it's discounted inventory, an underpriced property, or a promising partnership. Without capital, those doors remain closed. Proverbs 13:22 says, "A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children, but a sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous." Seed capital is the beginning of that inheritance. This doesn't mean jumping into any venture blindly. Just as you've been careful with budgeting, You must be diligent in researching markets, understanding risks, and counting the cost. Luke 14:28. Seed capital without wisdom is like planting in poor soil. It won't yield the harvest you expect. When your budget has matured into a business-building tool, you're no longer just managing money. You're multiplying it. And multiplication is what leads to the next step: building wealth that lasts beyond your lifetime. Building generational wealth with kingdom principles. Generational wealth isn't just about passing down money. It's about passing down wisdom, values, and a framework for stewardship. Proverbs 13:22 says, "A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children." That inheritance is both tangible and intangible. It's not only the business you built or the assets you own, but also the mindset and discipline that created them. Without the principles, the wealth won't survive 2 generations. Kingdom principles for generational wealth begin with stewardship. Everything you have belongs to God. You are the manager. When you consistently apply the 50-30-20 rule, you're modeling financial order for your children and those you mentor. They see that make money is only part of the story. Keep money and grow money are equally important. A godly legacy is built on all 3. Solomon inherited a kingdom from David, but his wisdom allowed him to expand it. He understood trade, invested in infrastructure, and maintained alliances that preserved prosperity. In modern terms, this means teaching the next generation how to manage investments, avoid destructive debt, and recognize opportunities that align with godly values. Without guidance, even the largest inheritance can be squandered. Practical steps include setting up trusts, wills, and education funds. But it also means involving your heirs in financial decisions before they inherit. Show them how the family budget works, explain investment choices, and let them see the discipline behind the numbers. This transparency transforms money from a mysterious resource into a familiar tool. For business owners, generational wealth may involve succession planning. Who will take over your company? Will they maintain its mission and values? Proverbs 27:24 reminds us, riches do not endure forever, and a crown is not secure for all generations. This verse pushes us to prepare actively for the future rather than assume stability will last. When you think beyond your lifetime, your decisions gain weight and purpose. You're no longer playing for short-term comfort. You're building something that will bless your descendants and impact the kingdom. And that's why the last topic is crucial: understanding the spiritual side of managing money. The spiritual side of money management. Money is not merely a physical asset. It's a spiritual trust. Jesus made this clear in Luke 16:11. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches? How you manage money reflects how you handle greater responsibilities in God's kingdom. The 50-30-20 rule may look like a budgeting tool, but it's also a training ground for faithfulness, discipline, and discernment. When money is viewed through a spiritual lens, it ceases to be a master and becomes a servant. Every dollar is assigned to a purpose that aligns with God's calling on your life. This means your business goals, your investments, and your lifestyle choices are filtered through prayer and biblical principles. The result isn't just to make money, but to make money in a way that honors the one who provides it. Prayer is the ultimate financial planning session. Before making large purchases, entering partnerships, or pursuing new income streams, invite God's wisdom into the process. Proverbs 3:5-6 instructs, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." This includes the path your money takes. Generosity is another spiritual key. Tithing and giving are not just acts of obedience, they break the power of greed and remind you that money flows through you, not just to you. Kingdom economics operates on the principle that you cannot outgive God. The more faithfully you release, the more freely He can replenish. For entrepreneurs, this perspective changes how you view profits. Instead of seeing them solely as personal gain, you start to see them as kingdom resources, tools to fund missions, support ministries, and create jobs that reflect godly values. This shift transforms your business into a ministry in disguise. Ultimately, the spiritual side of money management reminds us that wealth is temporary, but the impact of how we use it can be eternal. And when your financial life is aligned with God's principles, you're not just building a budget, you're building a legacy that heaven will recognize. If you've made it this far, you now understand that Solomon's 50-30-20 rule isn't just about numbers. It's about wisdom, discipline, and aligning your money with a higher purpose. The choice is yours. Keep letting your finances drift, or take control with a plan that has stood the test of time. Every dollar you manage with intention becomes a seed, one that can grow into security, opportunity, and a lasting kingdom impact. Write in the comments, "I choose to master my money God's way," and watch how this powerful declaration begins to shift the course of your business and your finances from this day forward. So what's your next step? Will you create your first budget? Will you cut the wants creep that's been eating your future? Or will you finally take that 20% and start building the business God's been placing on your heart? If this message has challenged or inspired you, consider supporting our ministry through the link in the description. And make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because the journey to mastering money God's way is just beginning.